Welcome back. If you think back to the last video, this was the result, which is absolutely awful working on the hair. I have subsequently found another online shop that specialises in parts for dolls, and they were very helpful, and they sell a range of wigs called Monique, made in America, but there are a couple of companies that import them. One wig called Gibson and another one called something beginning with L that I can't remember, but they're both really quite Victorian styled. So I've ordered one of those. Well, I've ordered one for delivery shortly they've got in stock, and one from America, and hopefully at the end of June. I always forget to say, remember, there are a plethora of exciting products available from my website or Etsy shop. There's the lovely Steampunk Kraken proximity gauge kit. There are all sorts of decorative gauges. This is the tea gauge to tell you how much tea you've had and how strong it was. Or there's working machines, there's air horns, there's all sorts of stuff. Alternatively, there's my Etsy shop as well. And if you're watching this on YouTube, the YouTube channel, and there are links to that on my website. Thank you very much. On with the show, so-called. That's the state of Victoria currently. So what I've done, having printed the wrong cranium, I printed the second version one. This is the proper one. And I also tried printing it upside down because I wanted to print add these little alignment pin things. Seems a shame to take her hair off, so I won't, but you can see printing it upside down, not surprisingly, because it was that way up, and as it builds it up, it's got to come out quite steeply to start with, and then it gets better quality as it starts to become more vertical. Now I don't care about that, because that's really quite rough, because it's going to be hidden by the hair. Hopefully I can pick this off. Yeah, I mean, these rafts are amazing. Look at that. Somehow it prints a really solid raft to stick to the bed of the machine, and then prints a really little shallow weak bit to link to the actual print you want. So there we have it. Let's see whether that fits on there. Oh, it does. Does it? Or doesn't that? Yeah. Brilliant. That all lines up. That's perfect. I'm really pleased about that. So I'm now ready for the wig. But during the meanwhilest, come here. Without realising it, I used warm white for the neck and then ran out of that and put another order in for white as I thought. But this is cold white, and there's quite a big difference. You can see that there. So I've ordered some satin finish porcelain paint. It'd be nice if she is actually porcelain coloured. So what I'm going to do now is to take her to pieces. This is all going to get very complicated, so I think, as I need to give it my undivided attention, I'll stop videoing because I can't concentrate otherwise. Can't do more than one thing at once. I'm going to leave the linkages in, and I'll leave the wire bits because I've got them all set to the right length and everything else all tuned, if you like. I'm going to try and leave that, but I'll take this out and I'm going to remove this central servo. Right, several minutes later I have the cranium, I have the jaw, the eyelids, still with the linkage attached, or one of them, and the head. I'm not going to worry about masking all this. It really doesn't matter if a little bit of paint gets inside. There's no exposed wiring or anything, and it's such fine paint, I don't think that's a problem at all. So that's that. Let's handily package that away so I don't lose any bits. And here's a lovely tray of bits. So these are all the little bits. If you remember back, when I was trying to adjust the eyes, I realised that these light grey Lego connectors are loose inside the dark grey ones. So in the end I had to put a drop of super glue on each one. Needless to say, I haven't actually marked which was right or left or anything else. So it all adds to the joy of trying to figure out this puzzle after I've done all the painting. Here's the neck. Now there's a little micro switch. Here's the bearings that I can just push out, because I don't want the bearings to get paint in them, because it rather defeats the object. Here's another one. And then those of you who've watched the previous video will remember that I came up with the idea, quick release mechanism for this, which means I don't, oh no, I don't even have to do that. What's that? That's another bit. Actually, I think I'll just push this on. Well, that's lucky. And there's a little assembly. Remember, I was really pleased with that. The reed switch and the magnet underneath, so it can locate whereabouts, looking left or right, the whole head is. And there's the stepper motor and the small gear. Remember, we started with the larger gear, but it was too fast and too weak, so we changed it. So that's that. I don't need to do anything with that. I'm going to try and leave this Lazy Susan silver. I could paint it brass, but you have to use special prime and all the rest of it for aluminium. And I'll just wait and see. I'm thinking about these wooden parts. I think now I can see the aesthetic of it, to sound all posh. I think these need to be smaller. They're just too wide. I could add some twiddly little pattern that's engraved on that. That would be okay. I can make them smaller. There's nothing that they need to do underneath. I'll have a think about that. Probably wait until I've stained these dark brown, and then see what the lie of the land is. Right, there we are. Now I could take all that out, but I'm not going to bother. Those of you who have been watching the series from the start will remember that originally I didn't have any holes in here, but when it came to screwing in the stepper motor to move the head up and down, it was absolutely impossible, because you really need quite a lot of force, pressure and torsion to actually get the screws to start biting into the printed threads. I just couldn't do it. It was impossible. So I drilled 2 holes, which I suppose can be beauty spots or something. I might take the micro switch out, although quite how is anyone's guess. Because did I glue it in? No. That's handy. That's handy-airy. Right. That's good, just because micro switches, I don't want to risk them getting clogged. This isn't waterproof one, so you could get paint ingress and it would just be a shame. Right, I'll put a bit of tape round. That's not my hair, surely. It must be off that wig. I'll put a bit of masking tape round here, because that is an important connection. I've got to remove that copper thing. Did I glue this in? No. Good grief. I can't believe how sensible I've been. Right, so there's the neck, there's the head. Let's get the spray booth sorted out. Oh, and if you're watching on YouTube, please do subscribe and click the notify button. As always, cleanliness next to godliness, so I'm going to hoover all this first of all, just to get any dust off. I think I'm also going to take the precaution of just masking the centre pivot of the eyes, the eyelids, because I don't really want to risk the paint starting to clog it up. At the moment this is quite low friction, coefficient of friction or whatever, between plastic and plastic, and if you add paint it might just have an undesirable effect to make it go really stiff and seize up, act a bit like adhesive. Right, happy with that. Well, the paint's dry. That looks really nice. I'll put another coat on as well so they do actually match up and overcome the difference in the cool and the warm whites. So the next thing, which I'm now putting off doing, is spraying the dark bits around her eyes and on her eyelids. I'm putting it off. I've spent quite a long time trying to rebuild 2 jigsaw puzzle pieces that I suspect puppy ate. Could have been the kids, but I think it's more likely it was the puppy. Our neighbour very kindly has lent my wife this lovely puzzle that she's completed. This is the perfect excuse to stop working on Victoria and start reconstructive surgery on a jigsaw. Here's the lost bit at the top. What I did was, on the computer, scanned the pieces around the missing piece in on the scanner to a high quality, and then drew around the missing piece of puzzle very carefully using a Bezier tool and a line. Then sent that through to the laser cutter and got it to cut out this. And that fits perfectly, and this card is actually very good as well, 1.2mm thick card. I did the same for the other bit. Here's the bottom bit, scanned it in, drew around it, and Bob's your uncle, finish your aunt, there's the bottom bit. So I've now got them. It looks like a piece of art. What I've done is I've taken a photo of the front of the puzzle and carefully enlarged, reduced, cropped, whatever, behind the bits that's missing, the 2 pieces that are missing. Then drawn a little datum on it on the top right hand corner, split them apart, so I end up with one with the photos and one with the cutouts with a laser cutter. And this is what we've ended up with. I printed it on this gloss paper because the rest of the puzzle is in gloss. Seems a shame not to, especially as I'm trying to avoid getting on with Victoria. Printed it out. You can see just here there's the datum mark. I've now stuck this onto the card, and now what I've got to do is to line this up at 90 degrees perfectly, and with that little dot on the laser cutter. Aha! I hear you cry, it all makes perfect sense. So there's the top piece, there's the bottom piece, there's the datum that's in a different colour, because I don't want to cut that. I think this is why I'm finding so many other projects to do, like power showers and jigsaw repair, because 3D printing, laser cutting, all that sort of thing is very predictable. And I'm dreading spraying her eyes, because I know I can always spray it over with the porcelain paint afterwards, but it's just going to waste time and effort. I don't know, same with hair. I like resistant materials. Right, let's get ready over the, let's just press test first and see what that does. Well, that could be right. Okay, 3, 2, 1, fingers crossed. Well, even if it didn't work, it's very pretty to watch. Let's have a look. Right, the moment of truth. The colour's not quite right, but you can't have everything. Let's see if it... But look at that, it fits. And the lines line up. That's not bad. And so we left this bit out in the sun or something. Right, let's try the other bit. So we've got that. That's not bad either. I'll trim the edge ever so slightly there, but this edge is okay. Brilliant. Right, so now you know. If you need a jigsaw repairing, go and find someone else to do it. Thank you. If you remember the previous video, I was experimenting initially with this airbrush, but I had it connected to a tank of butane, which was the old-fashioned way of doing it. I've now trying to connect this up because I think this is the way forward, and I think the butane bottle was on its side. Butane sounds a bit extreme, so here's the bottle. It is actually meant for airbrush, but it's was probably bought in the 80s or something, so it just pumps out butane. so you can inhale it and explode or whatever. So what I've got is a load of fittings. Here's the pipe for the airbrush, and here we are. Here's the bit that plugs into the compressor. Here's the filthy business end of the compressor. So it's a push fit. There we are, that clicks into there. So what I need to do, let's click that, is to connect the end of this pipe to the end of this pipe. Very luckily, I found a thread. I don't know what thread this is, but it's the same as the internal thread on that, so that's great. It's actually used with chromium plated Munson rings, such as this one. Don't ask me why. You can see it's got a very fine thread inside, because normal brass Munson rings have an M10 thread, just 10mm M10, whereas this is something else. I'm really pleased though. Also, it's handily got a hole drilled through the middle again. I have no idea why. So I think the stage I've got to is I'm going to glue in a bit of brass. I've got some brass pipe, so I'm going to glue it into there and into there, possibly using the glue of the super variety, which I do favour, and then we'll see how that works. I've got some flexible tube, rubber tube, but I don't know how well that's going to respond to the pressure. At least this one. I know this tough, rigid tube is designed to work up to about 50 psi. First though, I need to turn the end of this down because it's all really rough, and that needs to be turned down beautifully flat so that it will screw into the end of that, which has got a rubber seal on it. So I'll do that now. So I've got a pointy, sharp cutting bit, or whatever it's called, mine's failing me. Put that in the three jaw chuck. Apologies for the view, but I haven't got a convenient place to be able to mount the camera. Line that up roughly. I really need to get a better camera mount because it's so difficult. Well, there we are, it's not bad. There's no sharp edges and it's got a nice flat surface to mate with the rubber seal. Great. Well, let's give it a go. So that's the nice... No, it isn't. Oh, yes it is. Doesn't bode well, does it? Let's put that on there. Life is never simple, is it? So this probably isn't quite the right thread. I'm surprised it goes on as far as it does, but then it jams. So let's see if we can add an O-ring. Otherwise the air's just going to leak out. It's sort of the right size, and then that's better. Yes. Right, so we've got that sealed. The next thing is to join that to that. This brass pipe is 5mm diameter. Don't care about the flow inside the hole, bore inside. So that's loose, but I can clog all that up with super glue, like this one. Yeah, it just pushes in there, and I can clog that up with super glue. Excellent. During the meanwhile, the glue has been drying. In the end, the little brass metal pipe was so small that I wrapped PTFE tape around it to get it to seal properly, and then added a little bit of superlative glue, as always. So I've got that to there, this plus the O-ring connects to there, this is going to go to the compressor. Shall we try it? Here's all the controls, so I'll plug that into there. Right, and then leave that dangling about so it pulls everything off the table. Right, get the compressor switched off. So what it's doing is it's filling the reservoir up with compressed air with a compressor very similar to one in a refrigerator. And this is the overall pressure that's in the reservoir, and believe it's got some sort of mechanical switch, pressure switch, so I think it stops at about 5 bar or whatever that is, which is about 80 psi, and then you use this bit, which is the regulator, to regulate it. Godfathers. I think I might have a faulty regulator. I think they have a diaphragm in them, and it's probably got punctured at some point. I think some googling might be in order, and that also provides me with the perfect excuse to not do anything again. Let's switch that off.